Hi, my name is DBader. It's June 26, 2019. Today we're talking about a communication theory called the strong and weak ties theory as it relates to social media. If you've left Facebook behind or never bothered to try it, I get it, but this podcast is for you. I've had a Facebook account almost since the company's beginning, and nearly 3 years ago during the 2016 election, I'd had enough. I was pinballing back and forth between friends and family, engaged in raging political arguments, smug memes that oversimplified just about every political stance, and friends whose lives looked so happy and complete that my depression over the politics was deepened by a digital keeping up with the Joneses malaise. The one joy I got out of Facebook were the pages and groups dedicated to classic Volkswagens. Now, members of these groups could be smarmy and rude to each other too, but more often than not, they were helpful and celebrated our shared passion. It also helped me keep up with the local meetups for car shows and cruises. So I made a decision. I would hide or unfriend everyone who was not real family. Even some real family, those who I knew were good people in person but behaved very badly online, went into virtual oblivion. I kept my groups and some non-political humor sites, though I didn't know it at the time. By making this new type of communication work for me, rather than the way most people use it, I was maximizing the benefits that sociologists and communication scientists have found inherent in the medium, while still not missing out on the important role social media is playing in our society. Back in the days when cell phones were limited to cell phone calls and text messages, author and scientist Rich Ling looked at the effects of cell phones through a communication theory called the strong and weak ties theory. Ling found that people were walking and talking and breaking just about every weak tie, those courtesies and manners we expect from each other as members of society. Their connections with friends and family members, strong ties, on the other side of the call, had gotten stronger. Then the iPhone and its competitors took over the cell phone market, allowing us to bring Twitter and Facebook with us everywhere. The widespread use of social media brought another benefit, an ability to build social capital. Social relationships that benefit society with less effort and more effectiveness. A 2015 study of this part of online life found a simple formula for this benefit that affected mostly weak social ties. Listen and invest some time in your online personal connections, they found, and you'll reap rewards. Take the example of my VW pages. I get advice, access to local used parts, and info on meetups and cruise-ins. So used correctly, texts and calls build our strong social ties with family and friends, and social media builds our weaker ones with the greater community. That's something to think about if you've abandoned your social media accounts or never started one, because the way we used to do these things, weekly calls tethered to the wall phone in the kitchen, and social clubs like the Rotary and Elks Clubs aren't coming back. We need these devices and apps to work for us to keep our social lives alive. If Professor Timo Karelin is right, we'll need to keep up with the changing technology because these media are going to get a lot more personal. Karelin studied telepresence robotics. He sees a future where you'll talk to something that looks a lot like a person and feels like a person. Even more, he reports that scientists are studying tapping into our brains, so a caller, that term barely applies in this case, actually feels like they're next to us. That's an exciting and frightful idea, one that sociologist Sherry Turkle is warning us against. In her book, Alone Together, she shares uncomfortable instances of how people are losing that real human connection. They were giving up something really important for the ease and convenience of devices and robots. Sometimes you have to look a person in the eye and say something that might be awkward and uncomfortable because it speaks to the dignity and the humanity in all of us. By all means, don't skip Thanksgiving dinner. Don't video chat when you might enjoy an evening together. But also, don't miss out on this cultural movement. Find a way to make these tools, social media, Facebook, Twitter, work for you. If these scientists I've referenced are right, there's a real benefit to it for your close ties and those weaker ones in the community. Special thanks to Benasound.com and PackDV.com for some of the sound clips you've heard. Both are royalty-free, downloadable sound sites. This has been a presentation of Writing at Night, a multimedia communications blog at the Night School of Communication, Queen's University.